All right. It's YouTube time. And while holding hands with each other, they did several loops around her car. While holding hands, one of them reached up and tried to grab the stroller. If you're not proving my daughter's innocence, you're not doing your job. You're not the victim of kidnapping. Am I missing something here? Wait, future BOZE here. We go through this whole case, and I knew what was gonna happen, but we watched the mom's response to this whole trial on Instagram at the end. And let me tell you, truly, it's the icing on the cake. It's unbelievable watching that woman lie. I think it was like, what, 5, 6, 7 minutes? I couldn't look away. So the whole case, it's pretty interesting, but I need you to at least watch the part at the end. If you've been online for the past couple of years, you have heard of the Katie Sorensen story. I have heard of the Katie Sorensen story, but the details of this case shocked me. I am not kidding. I'm going to try to get through this without laughing. It has shook me to my core. Katie Sorensen was an Instagram mom. She ran a page called Motherhood Essentials, and she had a shocking experience where she went into a craft store one day with her children, only to have a moment where her children were almost kidnapped in the Michael's craft store. But when Katie went to the police and then later went online to make these accusations, she had absolutely no idea who she was dealing with. There is a video that goes along with this case, and it's the moment that Katie Sorensen details what exactly happened in the store that day. I want to tell you guys the story myself first, and then at the end, I'm gonna show you the video. When I was going through this case, I realized that seeing the video first and then seeing it at the end, it's almost like watching two completely different stories. But I will tell you what happened from Katie's point of view. Katie posted a video on December 13th, 2020 on her account that has now been taken down. It was called Motherhood Essentials, and she wanted to raise awareness about something that had happened to her in her town so that people could be on the lookout for any suspicious activity, because as a motherhood page, she feels like, and I mean, it's true, our children are the most important thing in the world to us. And she knows that's what her audience wants, and so she talks about this story. She said that she was on a quick errand with her 4-year-old and her 1-year-old child. Upon entering the Michael's craft store, she was being followed. She was being followed by a Hispanic couple who were following her around and making comments about the appearance of the children. Not making fun of what the children looked like, but rather talking to a third party on the phone, and she said describing what the children look like. I'm really trying here. There was a Hispanic couple that was following her around Michael's, and they were on the phone with a third party, and they were walking closely behind her, and they were saying, yes, a white child, fair complexion, about 4 years old. There's another. One's about four years old, and one's about a year old. We're right behind them. So Katie, she hears this. They're not talking low enough. And in her world, she's aware as a mom that they are behind her and they are just making all these call outs on her children. And she decides that she has to get out of there. She said that they trailed her through the store and through the checkout line. And she said that they were holding hands and they walked out into the parking lot. And while she said that the couple were holding hands and walking around the parking lot. And while holding hands with each other, they did several loops around her car. While holding hands, they did several loops around while looking at the children. And then one of them reached up and tried to grab the stroller. However, by the grace of God, that is literally what Katie says in her video, which I will show you later. She said, by the grace of God, there was an elderly man nearby. And he said, hey, what are you guys doing? And they got scared and they ran off. Katie was absolutely shaken by this experience. Her children, 4 years old, 1 year old, they were almost taken by these random people. And she was so lucky that that man was there that day that saved her. Katie went to the police, as she should, and she said, hey, I don't want to prosecute anybody. I just want to let you guys know what happened. And the police, they take her report. She, tells this whole story that they were trailing her in the Michael's craft store, giving descriptions of her children to a third party on the phone. She leaves out the part about them reaching for the cart. This came out later in her Instagram story. But she tells them the rest of the story and the police say, okay, we'll look into this. And she's like, well, thank you. But after that, Katie is not happy with the police's efforts. Maybe she just wants to raise awareness to other moms, or, maybe this is an opportunity to talk about it on Instagram and get a couple likes. So she goes online and she tells the story again, but this time she leaves in the part where the elderly man scared them off when they grabbed the stroller. Now, this video gets back to the police department. It had over 4 million views. 2020, 4 million views, that's a lot. It gets back to the police department and they say, well, hold on. They reached for the stroller? And Katie's like, yes, they reached for the stroller. And they said, well, somebody following you at a craft store and then somebody actually making a motion to, I can't believe where this is going. Somebody actually making the motion to take the stroller. This is actually a really big deal. And so they decide to reopen the investigation. Sadie and Eddie Martinez, they met in San Francisco a couple decades prior to this. See, they're American-born people who their parents are from Nicaragua, okay? They're Americans through and through. They're born in America. They meet when they're younger, and then around 2000, this happened in 2020, they get together in the 2000s, and they get married. They move 40 miles north of San Francisco to a nice little quiet town called Petaluma. And that's where they live. On December 14th, Sadie's child comes up to her with her phone and she says, Mom, is this you? There was a news report where the local news was looking for this, Spanish couple, supposedly, Adam Michaels, that tried to kidnap a child. And Sadie is looking at the phone because she was in Michael's earlier that day. She was trying to make a centerpiece for a baby Jesus in a manger. She was determined to make this baby Jesus that day. And now she's looking at the phone and the police are looking for her. This is kind of unbelievable. So she hops on the internet. She had a message from the police department on Facebook. And they said, Sadie and Eddie Martinez, we need to speak with you. And Sadie's looking at the computer and looking at the phone and looking at the message. And she's like, is this a f***ing joke? How am I on the news? How are they messaging me on Facebook? She's like, okay. They consult a few people as well as someone who was a family friend that was actually an attorney. And the attorney says, well, listen. You guys didn't do anything wrong. Just go talk to the police and figure out what is going on. Sadie, after getting the message on Facebook, she actually goes to the police station and she tells them the story of what happened to her that day. She was supposed to be making this, centerpiece of baby Jesus in a manger. And she was determined to get it right. It was going to be beautiful. She was going to get the baby Jesus. She's going to get some little leaves. She's going to get some little snowflakes, everything. She had a vision in her head of what she was going to make. And that day she threw on some sweatpants. She put her hair in a ponytail and she said, Eddie, you're taking me to Michael's. So she's in the store and she's picking out every piece intricately. Sometimes she's not finding the exact things that she looked for, but she is determined to get it right. This thing is gonna be beautiful. And while she's so zeroed in, looking for these pieces to complete her baby Jesus centerpiece, she doesn't notice this woman with, 2 kids that's just staring at her out of the corner of her eye. Sadie she didn't even notice this woman. She just got all of her stuff. She went to the checkout and then she left. There was no footage of her in the parking lot. There was no footage of her trailing behind the woman in the store. The CCTV footage came out. Sadie's story, by all accounts, matched up. Things got a little bit worse for Katie Sorensen as well because she didn't realize that these were 2 very beloved members of the community. I mean, Sadie was making something for, a community event. And then also her husband, Eddie, he was a well-liked UPS driver in the neighborhood. Everybody knew her husband. They go to local restaurants. They tip well. They're kind to everyone. Everyone's, hey, Sadie. Hey, Eddie. But Katie Katie didn't know this. Later in an interview, Sadie actually said Katie probably should have done a little bit more homework and picked different characters for her story before she went public with it. I cannot get over the way that Sadie just bossed through this whole thing. The police look heavily into this. The CCTV footage does not match up with Katie's story. Okay, and now that I've told you both sides of this, can I just say it? Can I just reiterate this one more time? First of all, you think the kidnappers are in a Michael's? Yeah, we're gonna go to the craft store where grandmas frequent. We're gonna go pick us up some kids. What? And then second of all, she picks the first non-white people that she sees, a couple. She just thinks they're trailing behind her saying, he's about 4 years old, fair-skinned, blonde hair. We're closing up on him. Yeah, we're gonna make our move in the parking lot. We're gonna get this fucking kid. I got Sadie with me. She's got eyes on him. She's gonna distract the mom. To literally walking behind the mom within an earshot saying, yeah, Sadie's gonna distract the mom. And then when she's not looking, I'm gonna grab that kid. Oh no, our plan was spoiled. There was an old man in the parking lot. This is just the dumbest story. Now, do you understand why I've waited to show you Katie Sorensen's video? Because it just makes it exponentially funnier.
Monday of this week, my children were the targets of attempted kidnap. Which is such a weird thing to even vocalize, but it happened, and I want to share that story with you in an effort to raise awareness as to what signs to look for, and to just encourage parents to be more aware of their surroundings and what is going on around them. I think right now we are so distracted by everything that's going on in the world that we are kind of have our guards up so much about masks and wanting to keep our children safe that way that we're forgetting the most important way to keep them safe, and that is with us, and to not have them taken. So I'm going to share a story in an effort to raise that awareness, but I'm not ready. This is hard for me. I'm not ready to share this story.
I'm going to share a story in effort to raise that awareness, but I just want everyone to know that I'm not ready. This is hard for me, and I'm not ready, but here's the story.
But I know it's important, and I would rather be uncomfortable and awkward and get the message out sooner than wait until I feel composed, because I don't know if I'll ever be composed talking about this. And I'm not gonna wait to tell the story because I want to get the message out, and I don't know if I'll ever be okay. So here's the story. Make sure you like and subscribe. Monday, like I said, my children were the targets of attempted kidnap. We went to...
Dude. That is the second time that she didn't say kidnapping. Am I tripping? You're not the victim of kidnap. It's kidnapping. Am I missing something here?
Targets of attempted kidnap. We went to Michael's craft store just to run a few errands.
How are you racist and dumb?
Make some homemade gifts. Very quick trip. I have not taken my children out a lot as of late, but this was just a situation where we just needed to run this errand, and I thought I came prepared. I brought the double stroller, thinking I'd just throw them in, cover them up, put the cover on top, and just walk through the store quickly, grab our stuff, and go. I only had 2 items I needed to grab, and then I did a Target pickup, so that was the only time we were getting out of the car. So we get to Michael's. I park as far away as possible, in an effort to not inconvenience others with our big stroller. That was always my go-to. Whenever I brought the double stroller, I'd park far away so that people wouldn't
Stop looking at me,
frustrated
Katie.
with me taking forever getting the stroller in and out. That is the first thing that from this day forward I will be doing differently, if I ever choose to bring my kids out again.
Excuse me, everyone. That's the partial video. The video has essentially been scrubbed from most of the internet, but the beginning of this video is what all Katie said in the full video, and that's what prompted the investigation, because they were like, wait a minute, you didn't tell us that they tried to grab the stroller from you. That, changes everything. Now, there's one other piece of this story that, if I'm being honest, it makes it worse, but I also think that it's kind of funny. This may be the most unbelievable part, but prior to that. So after interviewing Sadie and Eddie Martinez, They were completely cleared of this. Their friends and family that supported them and knew who they were and knew that this lady was just being a little silly, they started reporting the video en masse to get it taken down. More people were making videos also saying, listen, this lady's lying. Like, this is not true. They pretty much bullied her out of this being serious. The funny thing about it is this woman was lying in entirety, but all of the comments were full of sympathizers. It's difficult online to believe that people would lie about such a horrible situation. So we tend to lend them empathy and sympathy, and we tend to believe them. I think it's important to note that the people that are lying about these things, they are taking advantage of your empathy. We want to believe the best of people, but people online every day are taking advantage of your attention span. They're taking advantage of your empathy. It happens all the time. You should be a little more reserved with that if you can. But oh my God, all of the comments, they were, oh, Katie, I'm so sorry this happened. I'm so sorry this happened. And then the video goes away. So the police investigated. The CCTV footage did not line up with her story. Nothing lined up. She was arrested and charged with 3 counts of falsifying information to the police. In the investigation, they said that they found no evidence and no witnesses, including the old man, that corroborated the story that Sorensen told. The investigation was officially closed on December 17th. The next day, they released a press statement announcing an investigation whether the incident was falsely reported, which then led to the 3 counts of falsification of a police report. They were trying to see if they found evidence that it was racially motivated, which... After a long investigation, in 2021, Katie was charged with 3 misdemeanor counts of giving false reports to police. She pleaded not guilty. Now, here's my favorite part about it. Sadie and Eddie were subpoenaed to testify and be a witness against Katie. Katie really thought that she had all the power in this situation. And then they planned to put them on the stand to prove she was a liar and then put her away. Look, I told you, objectively, the story is funny. And part of that is because we actually got justice. Afterwards, Katie was acquitted of 2 of the charges, but she was found guilty in 1 charge of falsifying evidence. And they kind of disregarded the Instagram thing. They disregarded the initial investigation. But the 3rd time they interrogated her through this whole process, she doubled down on her lies and told even more lies. And that was the nail in her coffin. It was that 3rd investigation. I believe she was sentenced to 90 days in jail, but they reduced it down to like 30. Like they said 60 days of it could have been like community work or something like that. But she actually did have to spend 30 days in jail. Now, I ask you, do you think this is fair? She had 30 days of jail time, 12 months of probation, and she was also ordered not to be on social media for a few months to maybe a year, something like that. Yeah, 12 months of no social media presence. The judge basically told her, Katie, get a job. Now, the last part of this story. Before I show you this, I want you guys to do me a favor. You have to solemnly swear that you are not going to, going to go harass this page. You're not going to go stir up no trouble. You can curiously look, okay, but no commenting, no messaging. You all know that online, when somebody does something bad, there will always be people that defend the person that did something bad. I don't know what this happens. I do not know what this phenomenon is. I really don't. I wonder, is it because the people that defend the bad person are like the bad person and they don't want to see the bad person go down? So they like to, I don't know, act like it didn't happen or try to defend them by any means necessary. Well, this page popped up and it's I Stand with Katie Sorensen on Instagram. This page was actually originally made by somebody else, but because Katie Sorensen's mom actively advocates and campaigns for her, she's made several appearances on the page. Despite overwhelming evidence, there are still 481 dumb that think that Katie Sorensen is a victim and she didn't deserve any of this. The following is my retelling of my daughter's story of being charged with a crime for being a protective mother. My daughter is Katie Sorensen. These are my words. Hashtag stand with Katie Sorensen.
Why can't truth be truth? That has been my frustration over the last couple of years, in particular the last month or so. My daughter is Katie Sorensen, and she has been going through hell in her life from simply being a concerned mother. She filed a report, maybe it was about 2.5 years ago in December of 2020, with some concerns that maybe her children were in danger due to some suspicious activity and circumstances at Michael's in Petaluma, California.
How are you going to minimize the thing that your daughter was charged for in an extensive investigation?
She was in the store shopping. She felt like she was being followed around. She heard a couple saying some things that she thought were directed at her children. When she checked out, this man who, from this couple, was turning around 180 degrees, not once, not twice, but 3 times, looking at her at the store. When she left the cash register, he directly followed her.
Bro, I hate y'all. Somebody said, it's 482 followers now. Get out.
Directly followed behind her, leaving his wife at the register. Just seemed a little odd. When she was out in the parking lot, this couple approached her car 2 times, stopped behind her vehicle for a few seconds. And at one point, the man did something that made Katie think that he was reaching for a stroller.
Let me be clear. Sadie and Eddie literally walked from the front door of Michael's to their car. And Katie wasn't lying. She parked in the back of the parking lot. This part is a blatant lie. They did not walk up to her car, hand in hand, and circle the car, stop behind the car, any of that. How dare you? I'm so tired of this happening online. How dare you let me see something on camera with my own eyes and then tell me that something else happened? And this happens all the time online. And then people are like, okay, I don't know what to believe. I'm like, Look at the thing that came out before people started doing AI generated like what you can see it. It didn't happen.
Very concerning. And so she talked to her husband on the phone, and he encouraged her to call the police, so she did. She called dispatch, told them what had happened, and then filed a report with them, and then went to the police station as she was directed by dispatch to file a report in person. She followed up with the police a couple of days later. They said they hadn't found anything. So, she figured they'd done their job, and, there was nothing to be had with the story. So she went on her merry way. And a few days later, started feeling a little guilty that maybe she should have done a little bit more on that day to protect her children. And so she had a motherhood page on Instagram. She had a couple thousand followers, and so she decided to share her story.
The minimization and the minimization go crazy right now. Okay. Oh, so she decided to hop on her Instagram, and she had a couple thousand followers. No, she was trying to be a mom influencer, and she was preying on her demographic's greatest fear, which is their child being taken, and putting out a false story online to get likes. The minimization throughout this entire thing it's otherworldly. It really is. It's amazing to witness. It's like watching a dog walk on its hind legs 3 times in an hour.
When you're out and about and you're feeling nervous, say something. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. Don't be anxious. Say something. You need to protect your children. Unbeknownst to her, the video went viral.
That's exactly what she wanted.
And the critics will say she did it for followers, which is just a bunch of BS, because there are things that need to be done in order for a video to do that intentionally, and she did none of that. But
yes, promoting fear to your demographic, like that this is their particular fear, that will absolutely make a video go viral. Absolutely. Especially people that follow you and care about you. And also, you cannot tell me that an Instagram page with the name Motherhood Essentials is not a brand, or at the very least, an aspiring brand that has to do with being a mom influencer. You can't tell me that.
Nonetheless, the police saw the video and were interested because there was something that she'd shared in the video that they wanted to follow up on. And so they came to her home, did a follow-up interview. At that time, they actually did have video footage of the store, which was interesting because they said they didn't have any proof to verify what had happened. but we'll find out later in court that it actually did verify what Katie said. But nonetheless,
No, it didn't. The investigation was dropped because it was the opposite. Because it was literally the opposite.
From the video, they were able to identify the couple that Katie was concerned about, and so she thought, okay, well, they're going to continue the investigation. Well, that's not what happened. Instead of them continuing the investigation, maybe they did, I don't know. But what had happened was they turned it on her and charged her with 3 counts of filing a false report.
They turned it on
For
her.
dispatch. The second time with when she went to the police station in person, and the third time with that follow-up interview. Fast forward to court, to trial, which was 2.5 years later, this past April, and she was found not guilty. There was video evidence to corroborate her story. Of
That's not
in the store adjacent.
Wow. This is unbelievable. Katie, she just posted this on June 9th. Katie was guilty. Katie was guilty. She was found not guilty on 2 counts, but Katie was guilty on 1 count for her third interview. How can you just say that? You know, sometimes in the videos, I'm like, this is what's happening here. Or this is the tool that they're using. Or this is what's going on right here. I am so triggered. You know when you get triggered and your brain is just like in a little tornado? And like, you're like, I don't know what's going on right now. The amount of lies that are being thrown at me when this is the reality that I know to be true, and this is the Delulu land that you're trying. This is Delulu land, classic Delulu land, and I'm losing air. I'm suffocating. But I have to let it keep going because this is crazy.
To her, the man following her out of the store, the couple approaching her car 2 times in a very suspicious manner. All corroborated. You know, there was nothing, there were no lies.
What?
Okay?
Yeah. Okay. All right. The lies are right here. They're right here. You know what? Guys, this is a time for, is anyone else feeling a little triggered, a little gaslit right now? Feeling a little like, you feel a little funny in your head, in your chest, in your body? We're going to practice a new skill here, guys. It's going to be laughing at the narcissist and making a face at them like, girl, okay? This is a skill building moment for us. We will not try to understand or comprehend. We will put our walls up and we will just give them the stink eye back, okay?
No lies. Media, please make note of that. There were no lies. Everything that she said happened that day occurred. Again, the first 2 charges were where she filed the full report to dispatch.
We're not understanding. We're just...
And she was found not guilty. Now, yes, she was found guilty on the 3rd charge.
Now, she was found not guilty. She was not guilty. Everyone take note of that. She was found guilty on the 3rd charge, but she was not guilty. I want to play that one again.
To do with the follow-up interview. And because there are pending legal action related to that 3rd charge, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail.
Can't talk about that right now.
One detail of something that happened that day that apparently the jury found her guilty of lying about.
Crazy.
However, that one detail that they said she lied about was something that was proven to have happened in court.
Oh.
And by video.
So, by the way, the detail that my daughter was found guilty of lying about, it was actually later proven that she was telling the truth. So the courts, they're doing everything backwards. I'm trying to lie like her right now. They're doing it all backwards. And if the media were there for the last part, they would have known that she was actually telling the truth. But nobody cares about that because you guys won't let truth be truth, right? Because on the 4th, that's when she was there the 2nd time. She came in and she told the truth. There were no lies. And then, you know, the jury, they convicted her, but it's because my daughter was telling the truth.
Video evidence. So why there was a guilty charge, we're still not really sure about. But nonetheless, we respect the legal system and we're going to work through the system the way it's supposed to, and by the proper means. But what frustrates me to no end is why the media cannot share the information as it actually happened. Why can't
the media share my version of events that makes me look good?
Cannot share the truth, that she did not fabricate this entire story. She didn't make this story up as is being reported. And we're not talking about just the podunk, local paper. We're talking Good Morning America. We're talking Inside Edition. We're talking major news outlets who don't seem to care about the truth, who haven't done the work to actually investigate what they're reporting on. Because everything to show that Katie was innocent can be shown in the court records and in the evidence that is all public.
Oh.
So, yes.
So if you did your research, you would know that she didn't lie, even though she was convicted of something else that happened because of the pending investigation.
I'm frustrated. I'm a frustrated mother. I'm scared for my daughter.
The trial's over, you
children,
dumb.
one of special needs, and she is facing 6 months in jail. 6 months because of this one count. And it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The whole thing doesn't make sense. There's so much more to the story. When she was found guilty of that one charge, she was remanded into custody. Now, this is happening in California, where you have people who are doing violent crimes and are being let go. But because my daughter was found by a jury to, on one count of one detail of a story that she was found innocent on, which the whole thing doesn't make sense.
The whole story was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. They did not follow her to the car. They did not grab the stroller. They were not following her around, giving characteristics of her child to a third-party kidnapping dispatcher, okay? None of this happened.
Nonetheless, she was remanded into custody. The prosecuting DA asked for $5,000 bail. The judge denied bail. Katie's attorney said, nope, you need to grant bail. She set it at $100,000. $100,000.
Yep.
Now, the typical bail, as I found online, did some research, for a violent crime with a weapon in California is $25,000.
I don't know. This one's a rare one. It's quite rare. Personally, I don't want Katie walking around the public. She might start accusing black folk because next. I might be in the grocery store and suddenly I'm on the news.
Message is trying to be sent to my daughter. Of course, there were all sort of racial undertones pulled into this as well. My daughter's blonde hair, blue eyed. The couple that she had accused is of Latino descent. However, my daughter reported them as white and possibly Hispanic. So
no, she said
there was no racial.
She said in the report, she said they were Hispanic. They were born in San Francisco and their parents were from Nicaragua, dude.
Undertones there whatsoever. Those that know my daughter know there's not a racial bone in her body. There's not an unkind bone in her body. But again, there's more to the story. Media, I would like to call you out.
Oh.
Please do your homework. Please do the reporting that you claim to be doing. Don't just regurgitate something from a local paper who, by the way, the reporter was half asleep most of the time in court.
Ooh.
He wasn't reporting what was actually happening. He didn't report any of the evidence that was shown to prove my daughter's innocence, to prove that the story.
If you're not proving my daughter's innocence, you're not doing your job. Why don't you wake up?
A divisive game of telephone where one person is telling a story and it just keeps getting regurgitated. And each time it gets regurgitated, there's more and more untruth woven into that. I'm frustrated. I'm a mother who is very frustrated and have had countless nights in tears because my daughter may be going to jail for 6 months, leaving her 3 children behind. We need to have truth. We need to be able to get the truth out. And that's what I'm asking right now. I'm just asking for people to hear the truth.
The page is psychotic. So some of the comments are, people responding saying like, this is just crazy. Why are you doing this? Until they ultimately turned the comments off. But I want to bring one more thing to your attention. If Eddie and Sadie were convicted of attempted kidnapping, the crime that Katie Sorensen originally accused them of. Now, remember, the first time she went to the police, she said, I don't want anything to happen. I just want to raise awareness. The second time that she went to the police, she said that she wanted to have them prosecuted for attempted kidnapping. In California, it says, every person not having a right to custody who maliciously takes, entices away, keeps, or withholds any child with the intent to detain or conceal that child from a lawful custodian shall be punished by imprisonment in the county jail not exceeding 1 year, a fine not exceeding $1,000, or both that fine and imprisonment for 2, 3, or 4 years, and a fine not exceeding $10,000. So this charge did not happen. Could have gone anywhere between a year and $1,000 up to 4 years and $10,000. Katie had to serve about 30 days in jail, and she got a big tap on the nose for her little no-no, her little public no-no.